Intelligence doesn't just die. I give him credit, though. Look operation. No sign of foul play. Certainly no sign of Romulan involvement. It's very tight. Caval's political status. Ambiguous. He hasn't been elevated to the continuing committee, which is usually a given for the head of the Tal Shiar. His nomination's probably been held up because of his opposition to the Federation Alliance, which is supported by the majority on the committee. Which in turn opens the door for your friend, Senator Krepak. She's an advocate of the Alliance, and she's been lobbying for this open seat. There is another rumor about Cabal, which is not contained in his file. We've heard he's ill, something called Tuvin syndrome.
Yes, I'm familiar with it. It's a neurological disease which affects mainly Vulcans, Romulans, and Rigelians. It's degenerative and incurable at present.
If Cabal is ill, they'll try to hide it. It's a weakness, and one that could hamper his chances of being appointed to the committee.
Is that what I'm here for? A diagnosis? What's the matter, Sloan? Doesn't Section 31 have its own doctors?
Our physicians weren't genetically enhanced. They need equipment to make a diagnosis. Equipment that the Romulans won't permit at this conference.
I'm incapable of making a diagnosis by simply looking at a man.
Oh, your genetically enhanced friends determined that Gul Damar killed a woman just by watching him give a political speech. I'm sure you can do better than that.
You're going to make a move against Koval, aren't you? You're going to find a way to use his illness to keep him off the committee. Now, I suppose it would be naive of me to point out that interfering in the internal affairs of a sovereign power is explicitly forbidden by the Federation Charter.
Without confirming or denying your speculation, I will say that if Cabal comes to power, it'll be a disaster for the Federation. He'll argue for the Romulans to abrogate the Alliance and negotiate a separate peace with the Dominion, and I don't think I need to tell you what that would do to the course of the war.
You can't justify that by manipulating...
Let's make a deal, Doctor. I'll spare you the ends justify the means speech, and you spare me the we must do what's right speech. You and I are not going to see eye to eye on this subject, so I suggest we stop discussing it. This mission is reconnaissance. We're not going to be called upon to do anything other than that. Now, why don't you get some rest? We'll be in orbit of Romulus by 0600, and you will need to have...
Chairman of the Tal Shiar rarely speaks of anyone in public, much less someone wearing that uniform. Starfleet Intelligence should recruit you immediately.
What makes you think I'm not working already?
Somehow it wouldn't surprise me if half the people in this room turned out to be operatives.
You are joking.
It may be impolitic to say this, but there are those who believe the Alliance is merely a momentary truce.
Do you want...
Well, I could ask you the same thing.
Well, in my case, it's a firm no. But you've answered my question with a question.
I try not to predict the future.
What about Chairman Koval?
You tell me. You just spoke with him. That's more than I've done in 6 months.
I take it you two don't get along.
We have different views.
Which are?
Stay secret.
female inhabitant of Varanus 3. The markings on the face are typical of a humanoid who's been infected by the disease, but who has not yet entered the terminal stage. In this next photograph, you can tell by the necrotic nature of the lesions, the patient has indeed entered the terminal stage of the disease. This is also marked by an increase in leukocytes. Excellent. Thank you.
Very enlightening. You almost made it comprehensible.
Next time I'm going to let you with hand puppets just for you. Thank you very much.
Glad to see you still have your sense of humor. Trust you noticed who was sitting in the front row.
Yes. He came to see me this morning between sessions. He wanted to know more about the quickening. Specifically, if I knew how to replicate the virus and how to introduce it into a population.
What do you think of his health?
Didn't you hear what I just said?
I heard you. Cavall wants to get his hands on the quickening. That's not news to me that the head of the Tal Shiar is interested in biogenic weapons. Pull your head out of the sand and take a look around, Doctor. These are not nice people we're dealing with here. Now answer my question.
His eyelids were slightly displaced. He had a noticeable weakness in the facial muscles, probably the result of a compromised neuromuscular function, and his respiration was somewhat irregular.
Bottom line.
He may have Tuvan syndrome, but if he does, it's in the very early stages.
How long does he have?
If his case fits the profile, he will start experiencing a loss of motor skills in 10 to 15 years, the life expectancy in the 20 to 25 year range.
Are there instances in which the disease accelerates without warning?
It happens, but in less than 5% of the cases.
Is there anything that could trigger the acceleration?
You know, I don't know what you're asking me.
Never mind. Thank you, Doctor. You've been very helpful.
This is unbelievable. Let's put aside for the moment that he's contemplating the murder of a high-ranking official. What the hell makes him think that the next head of the Tal Shiar would be any better than Koval?
Now, Sloan's more concerned with who gets the empty seat on the continuing committee. He's hoping that Kretak gets that.
Well, I sort of agree with him there. Kretak, for all her abrasiveness, is at least a patriot.
What makes her any different from Koval?
If you saw the reports from Starfleet Intelligence that I see, you would never ask that question. Koval would like nothing better than to see the Romulan banner waving over Earth. Believe me, Doctor, Chairman Koval is not someone we want to see at the Praetor's right hand. I'll have Sloan confined to his quarters immediately, but that may not solve our problem.
So?
Has it occurred to you that you and Sloan may not be the only ones here working for Section 31? For all we know, he has a confederate somewhere in the delegation.
Sloan did say that our mission would be strictly reconnaissance, that we wouldn't be called upon to do anything else. That could suggest another operative, someone whose mission isn't limited to reconnaissance.
If that's true, it could be anyone. Even a member of the Bellerophon crew.
Or a Romulan. What? Sir, I believe Sloan has an accomplice here. On Romulus.
What makes you say that?
Two things. First, Sloan has too much information on the inner workings of their government, too many insights into their political process. Second, Sloan's plan is to kill Koval while making it appear to be an accelerated case of Tuvan syndrome. Now, the only way to do that would be to expose Koval to a short burst of Nadion radiation. The simplest plan would be to maneuver him near a phaser relay and surreptitiously irradiate him. Now, since I doubt very much that Sloan is going to have the chance to do that, it stands to reason someone else is going to have to.
A Romulan.
Exactly. Sir, Sloan may have already gotten things underway. We have to warn them.
And how am I supposed to explain Section 31 to the Romulans? All hell would break loose if they hear that there's a rogue Federation agency running around plotting assassinations. Could bring the Alliance down. Besides, all we have is speculation at this point.
Admiral.
The answer is no. After I have Sloan arrested, I'll break radio silence and inform Starfleet Command of the situation. Your orders are to sit tight and do nothing until you hear from me.
Aye, sir.